All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual who steps into the Mighty Trigon on August 10th as part of BYB 29 Brawl on the Pines 3. And we have Cecilia Ulloa taking on Jessica Link. And just, yeah, a lot of intriguing facets to this matchup. And happy to have Jessica on Bare Knuckle Bowker to talk more about that. How are you doing? It seems like you have a lot on the go, busy day and all.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Sorry we're a little late, but no, I appreciate you having me on.
No, it's just I think it's cool like how I guess driven you are to pursue all of these different things just like with your schooling and you have a
Right.
fight coming up and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of wild how you're making it all work. So I just really appreciate the time.
This is probably the hardest camp I've ever done because, August 10th is right around the corner. I'm like a week and a half out. I just finished my last course of my undergrad a couple days ago. Finished. I'm done with that. I have one class I'm still doing as a prerequisite for grad school, and I'm finishing it this week. So I've got exams and stuff going on. Right when it's time to ramp up camp for my cardio and my weight cut. So this is probably the hardest camp I've ever done.
Yeah, I'd seen you had a post talking about how you still had to get things going with the weight cut while concurrently doing schoolwork and then eyeing grad school in September. So a lot on the
Yes.
go in the world of Jessica Link, it seems like.
Oh, it's a lot. Like I just had to go visit campus for grad school. I start in September, which I was supposed to fight in September on the Denver card. I believe it's September 21st. And Mel, the matchmaker, I love him. He hit me up and he goes, "Hey, that's a lot to be doing at once. I don't want you having to start grad school and fight at the same time." He's like, "So do you want to bump it to August?" I'm like, "Yes, let's bump it to August, please."
I guess it kind of worked out because I guess in also referencing the social media, it looked like you had a mid-May IG post about kind of like hitting up Mel to maybe get on a BYB card. So I guess it kind of even worked out.
Oh, I've been trying since the moment my last fight ended. I've been trying to jump back in there.
Yeah, I mean, great to see you back in the Trigon though. I feel like every fight you've had in there has been a banger for sure, but especially even getting back to the context of bare knuckle, just with the last couple fights being in MMA and returning to bare knuckle for the first time since last October. So that's exciting too.
Yeah, and honestly, those other fights, a coach pointed out to me some time ago. A lot of those MMA fights, I'm doing to stay busy. MMA is not my forte; it never has been. I enjoy it, like I like it for the fun of the sport, and that's kind of why I do them. Like I'm like, okay, let's challenge myself, let's go have some fun. But that's not really my mindset when it comes to the bare knuckle. Like that's I take it very seriously. I'm here to do my best every single. I'm always here to do my best, but it's a different mindset. It's not just like, oh, let's go do this and have fun. It's time for business.
Well, I mean, I feel like you've shown that not even just in the quality of your performances, but like the caliber of opposition that you fought in the Trigon, just, past
Oh
and
my
present champions alike, like Agnesa, Kirakosian, Monica
God.
Medina.
And that I'm actually that's a part of this upcoming one that I'm really excited about. Not discrediting my opponent at all. However, she has just kind of a similar background that I do. She's done some pro MMA fights without much success. She didn't have a huge history. She's kind of in my boat with that. Like she's fought some good people. I'm excited because I have fought former champions, current champions. My debut with BYB was against, an ISK kickboxing champion. I have fought some extremely high level women and I've done well with them. Didn't get the wins, but I've done very well with them. I mean, I pulled a women's fight of the year out of my last one against very high level women. So I'm excited to get in there with someone who has accomplishments more like my own. She's a scrapper. She gets in there, she fights, but she hasn't had that long history of fighting. She doesn't have those high level accolades. And so this is something new for me to have someone that is more on I guess, an even playing field with experience.
It's kind of interesting you say that too, though, because I mean, she's been in bare knuckle technically since BKFC 4, but I mean, you even have more bare knuckle fights cumulatively since then. So, yeah, just an interesting matchup. And like you said, it kind of just really looks like an exciting fight on paper based on what each of you bring to the table.
Right. I don't think one of us has anything that kind of really outshines the other one as far as, these big massive wins or these long accolades. We're coming to the table pretty fair and square here, and I'm excited for that.
And it's interesting because I remember speaking to you ahead of BYB 11, and you were speaking to the, I guess, experience of fighting in the Trigon. Like, obviously, it wasn't your first bare knuckle fight at the time, but your first experience in that kind of a compact space. Like, how have you found the run in the Trigon, like in the context of just like the notorious compact dimensions of the space really forces the fight and kind of just an interesting space to compete in, it seems like.
I like it. I like it, and I feel like I haven't really struggled with the space. I might find myself in one of those corners, but I typically am pretty good at getting out of it fairly quickly. There was one instance, the only knockdown anyone's ever recorded on me, ever in the sport of bare knuckle, was from Monica Medina in one of the corners, and it was simply because she cracked me so hard in the face. That was my massive cut, was from the strike. It was in the corner. I couldn't see. I didn't know what was coming next. I knew I was in the corner, so I took a knee. That is the only knockdown anyone's recorded on me, and I was in that corner and couldn't see. So aside from that, I've had no problem with the Trigon. I don't feel like it's been a detriment to me. I move around a lot, and sometimes I find myself going straight back more than I should, but I've kind of learned how much room I have behind me. I just kind of in the back of my mind, I know how far I've got to move and then move accordingly.
Yeah, fair enough. And also, one of the earlier times we talked around that aforementioned BYB 11 period, you were talking about the great work you got to have with not just Ross Puritty, but it also seemed like some Puerto Rico work with Lorenzo Hunt and Elvin Brito was had. Like, who have you mostly been working with in the preparations for this one?
Right. Oh, that was such a fun trip down to Puerto Rico. We've been talking about wanting to do that again. It was just a great experience overall, which that fight camp visit was actually just planned as a vacation. And then I happened to take a fight. So it was kind of a 2-for-1 there. But this camp, for the last year, I've been at a gym here in Wichita called 316 Martial Arts. It was founded by David Rickles and his business partner, Cody Bittler. David Rickles, he's fought for BKFC. He's going to be coming with me actually to Miami for this fight. He's got some other coaches that I've worked with more closely in the gym. This is my first time really working with him. But we started out as teammates under the same coach years ago. And then he opened his own gym. People shuffled around, and I ended up back with most of my original team who's still active. So that's really exciting. I'm happy to get this working with him. Even though we've known each other for so long, we've never really worked together like this before, and we both realized, hey, this works. This is kind of cool. We like this. So I'm excited to see how different my performance is now, going back to not a new coach, but a new coach.
So will he be like formally in your corner? I mean, obviously playing an important role all the same, but will he be directly there in the corner for your fight?
Yeah. Yeah, so originally I had to like find someone to come with me because the person I've primarily trained under for the last year plus, we've got a lot of fighters in our gym. We're one of the premier locations in the Midwest that has active fighters, and there is another card on the exact same day in another state. And some of my teammates, about 8 of my teammates are on that card. So the coaches are stretched kind of thin. And most of those are MMA fights, and the coach I normally work with is our primary MMA coach. So he's going with them, and so Dave's coming with me, and I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a good time. And of course, Isaac's always with me in my corner. He's going to be there handing me water and cheering for me. And I have a special guest as my third corner. My mom is coming with me.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I guess she's like enthusiastic about it. Like, has she been avidly checking out all the bare knuckle fights that you've had and stuff like that?
She's gone twice in person. When I fought, I believe it was Sigala, we walked up to the scratch line, and it was before the second round, I think. You'll see that we're both kind of giggling with each other because I had pointed out that I could hear my mom screaming over the entire arena. And we were in a big arena, and we shared a giggle about that because I could hear her. So my mom is definitely a fan.
No, I love that. That's really cool. Like, was this something that you had kind of extended to her, or did she mention she was interested, or how did this come together, I guess?
She jokingly said that she was like, "Oh, I need a vacation in Florida." I was like, "Well, do you want to come?" And she's like, "Well, I've got a little extra money," and so she's coming. She'll be flying down with Isaac the day after me and hanging out.
No, that's so cool. I love that. And just I think I was kind of referencing it in the context of you were talking about like Rickles being like your new coach, but also not a new coach in a sense.
Right.
I just love like lineage to martial arts and combat sports in general. Like it seems like you've been training some individuals. Like I saw some clips on Instagram training some kids ahead
Right.
of like some smoker fights and just
Yeah.
a wide range of
So
people. Yeah.
and we all kind of come from the same place. So the gym that I'm coaching at was formerly ran by my original coach, a man named Andy Zerger. He is one of the best to do it, one of the best coaches I've ever worked with. Rickles was under him. A lot of the gyms in the state originated under him. A fantastic guy. He's down in Dallas now, opening up a gym there. And myself and one of my teammates took over for him. I run the morning and the kids. The other guy runs the evenings. And then some of the other guys have since opened their own gyms. And so even though we're kind of apart, we're all still kind of interconnected.
Yeah, and I was also seeing you were working with an individual named Brent, and just I mean speaks to the different considerations one has to have. Because I think you were saying he has certain mobility issues that need to be considered in the training. So I guess just in
Oh,
considering all these variables for different people you're coaching, like how much does that inform your knowledge that you've already built in the sport? I feel like I always hear fighters talk about just how coaching can impart certain things to what they're doing
right.
as a competitor to an even greater
So
degree.
outside of fighting, I've been a personal trainer for some time, focusing on corrective exercise. What I'm getting ready to go to grad school for is actually occupational therapy, which is centered around corrective exercise a lot, just to a different degree, different types of people. But that's been something I've done for a long time. And being able to incorporate that into, teaching someone who doesn't move very well that they can still, to a degree, use boxing for fitness is really cool. I really got introduced to that concept with a group called Rocksteady Boxing. It's nationwide. There's a lot of places that host that. I actually was talking at one of the BKFC events to Austin Trout. He's very involved with his local Rocksteady Boxing group, and it's for people with Parkinson's disease.
Oh, okay.
And it uses boxing and fitness to just help people be less symptomatic and, be able to do everyday tasks. And so that really cemented for me, like, hey, this is a field I want to further go into. And then also the fact that I'm getting ready to turn 36, I can't get hit in the head for a living forever. So I was like, all right, I got to do something more, constructive with life. So that's why I started going in, finishing school. I got it accepted into grad school. I start in September, and I figure it's a 2-year program. I can probably fight for a couple more years and then have a real job when I'm done.
And it's cool that it ties together with something you're clearly passionate about and well informed in. So love that too.
Right. And honestly, I have a passion for coaching that I'm not going to say I don't have for fighting. Like I love fighting. I love competing. But it's a different type of love. I love coaching. And Isaac said to me one day, he's like, "Hey, I don't mean to be rude with this." He goes, "You are such a much better coach than you are a fighter." And he goes, "And I mean that in the best way possible." And he's right. I see it as a puzzle when it comes to coaching, because I'll have 10 people in a room and they learn in 10 different ways. And I've got to figure out how to show this one thing in 10 different ways. And I pride myself on being able to do that, because I've worked with coaches who couldn't do that. They would show me something and I'm like, "Hey, I have no idea what you're trying to show me." And it was, "Well, just try and figure it out. We'll move on in a minute." I don't want to be that coach, because that felt really shitty. So I want to make sure everyone catches on, whether they're doing it just for fitness or they want to fight. I want to make sure they understand what we're doing.
No, it's so great to have that kind of like versatility though, because I mean, I get what you mean. It can be kind of like stultifying almost to have it explained in like a singular way. And it's fine that that resonates that way to the person imparting it. But if it's not resonating to who you're teaching it to, I mean, it's not
Right.
going to really transition, right?
Right. I might have all the knowledge in the world. I might have the best of the best there is to share, but if I don't know how to share it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and there's also that longevity component to it as well, as you kind of mentioned with your career after the fact. Like it's also something you could theoretically do for, I mean, as long as you want to,
Oh, for sure.
realistically. So
For sure. I see money wise what I make now just doing coaching and training, and it's great. Secondary with the fighting, it all kind of comes together and I can pay my bills. But I also know realistically fighting doesn't last forever. Some people try it and you see the decline in performance over time. There's some older athletes now still in there trying to do it, and as much as we love them, you're like, maybe it's time. I don't want to be that person. I want to be able to finish and still have a good career. And I know moving forward, coaching and training is fun, but is it a good lifelong career that's going to pay my bills comfortably? Maybe, maybe not. So let's figure something else out.
yeah, and I mean, I guess I was just kind of taking it back to like you mentioning Isaac before. Like, what's the word on his situation? Like, as far as like when we can maybe see him fight again? Because he's obviously done such great things and
Right.
BKFC,
So
but I feel like, yeah.
it's going to be after the first of the year. He ended up getting a new coach. He's been with him for most of this year. He wanted to take like a good year and really get to know him and vice versa, and get real comfortable with his coach before he took another fight. Um, his new coach has cornered him before in a fight, and it was actually his fight with Jomi, and the fight would have gone well. Isaac was feeling terrible and neglected to tell anyone. But that was his first experience coaching him at a live event, and that part went really well. But he still wanted some time to really get more comfortable with him. And that's a big difference between us. I came up in a gym where there's tons of fighters, a few coaches. So, oh, you're not available? Okay, you are. Oh, you're not available? Okay, let me go ask him. We were comfortable with, there was a whole variety of people we could go to and be like, hey, I need a corner. Hey, I need a corner. Isaac didn't come up that way. This is your coach, and if he's not available, you don't fight. And so it was a very fundamental difference. But to answer your question, after the first of the year, he wanted to take the rest of the year to just get to know him better.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have to develop that certain rapport and whatnot, I would think, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been cool to follow what you've done over the years. Like much of the talk has been centric on BYB for sure, but it's also been kind of cool to just see how things have kind of developed, even with some of the people you've shared the BKFC space with, like just in the sense of Charisa Sigala had that recent fight in Japan at Super Rizin
Uh,
3 against Tai
her
Emery, like the
her
first
poor
Japanese.
nose. Oh, her poor nose. Like, that is one of the toughest women I've ever met. She, like, the way she snapped her ankle and casually put it back into place, her nose, she was just like, no, okay. Like, you could tell she was very panicked about it, but was still trying to be like, no, okay, let's do this. Like, that woman is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about her toughness. I actually had the privilege of talking to her ahead of that last fight and whatnot. But I mean, even that Crystal Pittman fight, just in the sense that you seem to primarily ply your trade as a strawweight, and she's seemingly looking to make a run towards being like BKFC's bantamweight champion at some point if they were to establish that title. So, I mean, that's a win that resonates as impressive, just like a couple weight categories ahead and all.
And that's been a problem of mine, is I have fought above my weight class for quite some time. And it was just to be able to get matches. 125 is a fine weight for me. I don't really have to cut much to get there. Like, I can go sweat for half an hour and I'm on weight. 115, I'm massive at 115. Like, I am huge at 115, but realistically at 125, the women I'm fighting are cutting from 140 plus pounds. So it kind of makes sense that in order to get someone that I'm closer to in size, 115 is where it's at. And honestly, I feel good at 115. I do a long, slow cut. I take my time getting there. I do it with diet. And by the time fight week gets here, I go sit in the sauna for maybe 45 minutes and I'm on weight. It's not a massive detriment to my health. I feel great. They were so skeptical at BYB last time because I fought at 135 for them before. They were so skeptical. I remember it was Benny. He was like, oh, I guess we'll see. She says she's healthy. We'll see. I felt fine. I didn't have any.
Yeah, and I saw you talking at BYB 22 about just the pool of 115 pounders. Like you seemed very excited about that and kind of focusing primarily on that. But also, I guess, good to have options at 125 if, I don't know, like say a super short notice fight came up or
Yeah,
whatever may
and
happen.
I've told them that, like, if they need a short notice 125 fight, they know they can call me. I have done the short notice at higher, and that's actually my first fight with them against Korea Karuni, and then my second fight with Monica Medina. Those were both short notice fights, up at least 2 weight classes. So yeah, they know I will do short notice fights, but also my manager, my coaches have been like, hey, maybe not at 130 or 135. Let's, keep it a little smaller.
Yeah, for sure. Just, yeah, so many exciting things on the go, but kind of like I was saying before, kind of want to be mindful of your schedule. I'm just kind of noticing the time flying by here a little bit. So just curious if maybe you had a final thought you wanted to add as we're kind of wrapping things up here, Jessica. I appreciate the time.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate you having me. Tune in and watch BYB. I have had a better performance every single time I step in there. I've gotten better every single time I step in there. I started this sport late. I did not start training until I was like 26. I had never stepped foot in a gym. So I am still getting better and improving. So I think people can expect a very good match on August 10th. So they definitely need to tune in.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see this fight with Cecilia Ulloa and just, yeah, you guys always bring it and really appreciate the time on Bare Knuckle Bowker. I'll be tuning in on August 10th, but until then, all the best with the fight coming up here and your studies as well. And just also have a good rest of your day too. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate having me.